welcome each and every one of you. We're in a series called The Relationship Survival Guide, the Field Guide to the Art of Living with People. Wow. Relationships are so critical, are they not? And they're constantly being tested. And so what we want to do is we want to take the next several weeks and we want to look at how you and I can become better at our relationship. Because if I were to ask you to list the three most important things in your life, things that you desire more than anything, and I'm not talking about your bucket list, I'm sure at the top three would be your relationships. Because we can't escape this reality, can we? That we're constantly interacting with one another. I mean, you can't escape people. You can take a time out, but you can't escape people. So you're constantly interacting with people. And everything that you do, everything that I do, goes back to relationships. And so relationships matter. Matter of fact, your stress level will be determined by your relationships. And so we've experienced a lot of stress, haven't we? And it's because of our relationships most of the time. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at some truths from God's Word, because this book right here is all about relationships. It teaches you and I how to love one another, how to relate to one another, how to develop one another, how to be able to have the right attitude. And we're going to look at that. Because relationship is the final component of God's goodness to you and me. God created the heavens and He created the earth. And after He did that, He said, everything is good. And then He introduced Himself to mankind. He created Adam and He created Eve because He wants you and I to be able to live in relationships. That's why we encourage you to be a part of a group, because doing life alone is dangerous. And so we want to look at this. Genesis tells us this. Genesis says in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, it is not good for man to live alone. I will make a suitable companion to help him. And so we know the rest of the story, don't we? We know that. And man experienced God's goodness and yet fell from that. And so what happens is now we battle with our own self as well as those people in our lives. And so we want to be able to experience the goodness of God created through relationships. Nothing makes life better than when you and I are doing relationships well. And nothing makes life more frustrating when you and I are struggling in our relationships. And so they are a crucial part of our existence. Yet what happens is many times we have a tendency to approach relationships as though we don't have to learn anything about them, that we just kind of set it on course and we just say, hey, you know what, I'll learn as I go, right? How's that working for you? It doesn't. It doesn't work. And yet what you and I need to realize is you will not be any happier than your relationships. If I would take the temperature of your life right now, of whether you're happy, you're sad, you're blue, I guarantee you, if I could learn what's going on in your marriage, if I could learn what's going on in your family, if I could learn what's going on at work, I would be able to tell whether you're happy or sad or blue, because it all goes back to your relationships. All goes back to your relationships. Bonnie Ware writes about people who are at the end of their life and what they say on their deathbed. And it's incredible. And she shares the top 5 regrets that people say on their deathbed. And I just want to share them with you because I think that they let us know how important relationships are. Here's the first one. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. Wow. Are you there? I heard that, yeah. Absolutely, we're all there. And we're going to learn how to be able to do that. How about this one? I wish I had the courage, or I wish I hadn't worked so hard. You know, nobody at the end of their life says, you know what, I wish I would have spent more time at the office or at the workplace. It just doesn't work that way. How about this one right here? I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. You see, what happens is you owe everybody in your life to be honest with them. And relationships cannot grow. Relationships cannot develop unless you're honest, unless you're truthful with people. Honesty is kindness. Do you know that? When you're honest with people, you're being kind. When we're not being honest with people, we're not being kind because you can't make progress. How about this one right here? I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Wow. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. You know, your high school friends, or maybe your college friends, or your childhood friends. I think that's true. And then this one right here. I wish I had let myself be happier. I wish I would have let myself be happier. Now, none of these, okay, said that they wish that they would have provided more, gone to more places, done more things. Basically, all of these come back to one thing. I wish I would have done relationships better. Because relationships is what really, really matter. And that's how God wired us. You see, our God is a relational God. Jesus didn't come and die so that you and I could have a new form of religion. He came and died so that you and I could have a relationship with God. And he wants us to have this relationship with him so that we can flourish and have relationships with one another. And I don't think anybody would debate this, that our biggest regrets in life go back to our relationships with one another. And so we would do well to invest on becoming and learning and being disciplined and developing some skills in our way of which we relate to one another. And here's the reason why, okay? Your relationships determine the direction and the quality of your life. See, listen, if you want to go to the next level spiritually, then you have to invite somebody in your life who's spiritually ahead of you. If you want to go to the next level in your marriage, then you need to invite somebody in your life who has a thriving marriage. If you want to go to the next level in your life in parenting, listen, you can't keep the same core of friends all the time in your inner circle. Some of us here today, you need to change your inner circle because you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Some of us need our world shook. We need it to be shaken. Otherwise, you're just going to live an average life. And so how do you do that? How do I develop healthy relationships? Well, what I want to do is I want to contrast an unhealthy mindset with a healthy mindset, all right? So let's dive in, okay? Here's the first one. The first one is this. A healthy mindset is relationships are not optional. I cannot do life alone. I am not better alone. I am better with other people in my life because doing life alone is dangerous. And so you need to be in relationships. I need to be in relationships. You say, well, I'm an introvert. Guess what? I am too. You'd never believe it, would you? But I am. But I realize that I have to be with people. I don't always want to be with people, okay? Sometimes for me, the most beautiful thing is to be in the car and drive 3 hours one way and then turn around and come back and just be alone, okay? But the fact of the matter is relationships is not optional. They're there, okay? Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you need to be with people because that's how God has wired you. Here's the unhealthy mindset. Relationships are convenient. You know, I'll just take them when I want them. And then what happens is we wonder why nobody's there when all hell breaks loose. We wonder why nobody's there when we get the phone call from the doctor. You see, I can't do relationships whenever I want to. I have to invest in them. I have to build in them. And so the unhealthy mindset is, well, they'll be there when I need them. And so we're gonna talk about that. How about this one right here? A healthy mindset is this: relationships will enrich my life. My life has been so enriched by the people that I've been able to meet and the people that I've been able to spend time with. And it's relationships that bring fullness and meaning to us. And we need to be able to celebrate those relationships because they infuse us, they energize us. Yet all relationships are in a flux of change. Would you agree with me? Because every relationship that you're in right now, it goes through seasons. And so we have to understand that. An unhealthy mindset is this: relationships drain my life. Drain my life. Okay, that might be true to some degree, okay, because there are people in our life who drain us, right? All right? But the fact of the matter is, you need to realize that you need to have relationships that enrich your life. Listen, I'm not going to be hanging out with people who drain me constantly and are negative. I'm just not. You're out. You're out. I don't have time for you. You all right? Okay? And so I want to be with people who's going to enrich my life. So what happens is, if you're going to be a part of my life, you better be working on your relationship with yourself. And so here's another unhealthy mindset, or a healthy mindset. That is, relationships can be painful. Anybody ever been in a painful relationship? Absolutely. And what happens is, by the way, you don't want to miss next week. We're going to talk about the number one killer in relationships next week. But the fact of the matter is, relationships are painful. God uses them in our life. And pain can bring purpose in your life and in my life. And things have happened in your family, things have happened in your marriage, things have happened at work. And so you just have to understand that relationships can be painful, but they are worth the investment. Here's the unhealthy mindset. Relationships should be easy. Should be easy. This is where we get into marriage. You know, people go through a tough season in marriage. I think I married the wrong person. No. Listen, let me just give you a hint, okay? Write this down. Marriage is not there to make you happy. Marriage is there to make you holy. Because marriage reveals our selfishness, our self-centeredness. And so we have to understand that. Relationships are never easy. Let me tell you this. If you've got easy relationships, you're a phony. You're not genuine. You're not honest. My wife and I never have arguments. Both of you are liars. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're honest with one another, okay, guess what? You're going to have some challenges. I tell our team here, okay, if you're in a meeting and you're not a little bit frustrated and a little bit angry, we haven't had a good meeting. Y'all okay? Have you ever heard of the meeting after the meeting? I can't believe Dwight said that. Because you're a coward. Because you should tell Dwight that. I can't believe my husband said this. I can't believe my wife said this. I can't believe my mom and dad said this. I can't believe my boss said this. You are a coward. Because relationships are not easy. Because what happens is, you usually have two conflicting views. I mean, our family meets every Tuesday night. It's interesting. You ought to be a fly on the wall. Because I'm a little bit opinionated, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And so we have these incredible conversations around the table. And we're learning and we're growing. It's iron sharpening iron. And so we have to understand that. How about this one right here? A healthy mindset. Successful relationships take wisdom and work. That's true. They take wisdom and work, because what happens is, you're dealing with one another. It takes wisdom because you're dealing with somebody who is different than you. It takes work because it's challenging. And they have thoughts and they have opinions. And by the way, I know that you're thinking of that difficult person, right? How many of us have a difficult person in our life? Let me help you with this. You are a difficult person in somebody's life. Okay? Why? Because you have an opinion. That's just how it is. And so here's the unhealthy mindset. The unhealthy mindset is the best relationships happen naturally without any effort. That's a lie. They take work. They take effort. They take investment. And so we have to understand that. And yet we treat our relationships like cars, don't we? You know, we run them hard. We don't change the oil. We don't change the tires. We don't do any of that. We run them hard. And then when they come to a certain level, we ask for a trade-in. We just ask for a trade-in. And that's not good. So we got to have a healthy mindset towards relationships. It's so important because you cannot act inconsistently with how you think. Now, here's the good news. Guess what? The Apostle Paul addresses this, and he gives us the ingredient to having healthy relationships. And just like life without a soul, okay, is not good, relationships without love is not good. And I'm not talking about this gushy, warm thing called love. I'm talking about a decision, a choice, being intentional. And here's what Paul writes. By the way, you probably had this at your wedding, okay, but didn't fully understand it, all right? Here's what Paul says. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or clanging cymbal. Wow. He goes on, he says, if I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all my possessions to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in the evil, but rejoices with what? With the truth. Wow. So what happens is, see, listen, if you want to know really how spiritual I am, it's not how well I teach. It's how well I love. Oh, Dwight's a man of faith. No, the question is Dwight a man of love? Oh, Dwight hears things from God and is able to challenge it. No, the question is, does Dwight love well? Does he love Patty well? Does he love his kids well? Does he love his family well? Does he love his friends well? And that's what he's saying. Because here's what we need to understand about love. And it's this right here. Everything I say is ineffective without love. So what happens is if you're in a relationship and you're saying, you know, they just don't listen to me, maybe we need to ask ourselves, how well am I loving them? I got a kid, he won't listen to me. Does he feel loved? Well, he knows I love him. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, does he feel love? There's a big difference between telling somebody that you love them and having somebody feel that they are loved. How about this one right here? Everything I know is incomplete. You can have a lot of knowledge, but you know what? People don't care what you know until they know that you what? That you care. And so everything that I know is incomplete. How about this one right here? Everything I believe is insufficient. So what happens, mom, dad, co-worker, what happens is you might believe that Jesus Christ died and rose again and that he is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through him. But if you don't love people well in your life, they could care less about what you know. They're not looking for a good theology. They're looking for something that is transforming a relationship. And it's all about loving God and loving others. How about this one right here? Everything I give is insignificant. You can love without giving, but you can give without loving, but you can't love without giving. It's there. It's there. And Paul basically gives us the equation for life, and that is this right here. Life minus love equals what? 0. If I don't have love in my life, if I don't have love in my relationships of what we just talked about, then you know what? Life doesn't really matter. It's not good. So what is it? And what isn't? Love, okay? I looked it up in the dictionary, okay? And because here's what we need to realize. I love ice cream. I had a bowl of it last night. Okay, a bowl and a half, all right? I went back for seconds. But I love Patty. I love Patty, but I hope I love her in a different way than I love my ice cream. And so what is What is love? Well, let's look at this, all right? Strong affection, a score of 0 in tennis, attraction based on sexual desire, a quality attributed to God. Wow. Now, in our English language, what happens is we have a limited way of expressing words. But with the Greeks and the Hebrews, you know, they have multiple ways in which they can express a specific word for different meanings. And I want to give them to you, okay? And here's what they are. Storge, it means family love, okay? That means that's something that you're born into when you have a baby that's born into your family. They experience family love. How about this? Philo, brotherly love. We get Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia, that's a brotherly love. How about this one right here? Eros, that's a physical love. That's a sexual love, okay, attraction. And then we have agape love. That's God's love. That's God's unconditional love. And we're born into that love. That's why we would say you have to be born what? Again. You're born into the family's love, okay, but you want to be born into this agape love, unconditional love. And that's what God has for you. And John writes about it when he says this, dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from where? God. So listen, if we're going to love well, then we got to know God. If we're going to love well, then we got to be loved by God. Because there's only one being who loves you unconditionally, consistently, and constantly, and it's him. And it's him. You say, does Patty love you constantly and consistently with unconditional love? No. I'm a realist. Do I love her constantly and consistently with unconditional love? No. And by the way, you don't either. There's nobody on planet Earth that does. There's only one who loves me no matter what and doesn't get moody with me, okay? And will stay with me. And his name is Jesus. And what happens is I have to make myself available to his love constantly so I can love Patty better and the way in which she what? Deserves. And if I'm not experiencing God's love on a continual basis, then guess what? My love for Patty suffers because of it. And so what does this unconditional love look like? Okay, let me give you some ways. First of all, it's practical. Real love is practical. It's not just words and deeds, okay? It's more than that, okay? And this is how it transforms relationships. It's kindness that's being expressed in tangible ways. John would write it this way, dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. Honey, I love you, but I won't take out the trash. Honey, I love you, but I won't fill in the blank. Love, real love is very, very practical, okay? It's modern day foot washing. It's serving other people. It's putting their needs above our own. This is why what happens, there's no loopholes here. This is why you and I, in our relationship with one another, we should always ask this question, what does love require of me? Because there's no loopholes there. We know what love requires of us. So it's practical, it's intentional. It's intentional. Paul tells us to pursue love. Love just doesn't come over me. I have to be intentional with it. I have to pursue love because love is a decision. It is something that you do. It is something that you pre-decide on. I mean, I was at a wedding yesterday and they took vows. You know what they did? They pre-decided to love one another before they even jumped into marriage. Because it's intentional. It's a choice. Love is intentionally doing something, okay? Caring and helping someone, regardless of the cost, regardless of the consequence. You know what they said yesterday? Through sickness, through sorrow, through whatever, I'm gonna love you. It's intentional. And then third is this, it's unconditional. Real love is unconditional. You know what? I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna wait for you to do something for me to respond to you. It's not I love you if. It's not I love you because. It's I love you. You ever been to an auction and you're there at the auction and what happens is that they just say, hey, there's no returns here. You buy as is. And so what happens is when you're in a relationship, when you're married, it's there, okay? That's unconditional love. You can't return it. You're just called to love and to love unconditionally. And Jesus said it like this. He said, I want you to love one another as I have loved you. And how does he love us? Unconditionally. And so it's no longer, okay, it's no longer do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. That's out, okay? That's out. Throw that out. Jesus said, no more. Jesus said, a new command that I give to you is that you love one another just as I have loved you. So it's not, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. Let's work this out. No. Real love is unconditional. And you know what? I don't even have a snowflake chance and you know where to be able to begin to do this unless I'm experiencing his unconditional love, because I can't give what I don't have and what I haven't experienced. Unconditional love is sacrificial. Wow, this one burns me. I just experienced it yesterday. I was sitting with my wife, Patty, and we were at a wedding, and I wanted to do something, and she said, that would not be good. And inwardly, I got ticked. And what she was asking me to do was to sit still and to sacrifice. And just for the record, I did, okay? It took me about 45 seconds to get there, okay? But I did. And that's what love is sacrificial. It gives of yourself. It says, okay, it doesn't have to be my way. I will sacrifice on your behalf. Real love is also supernatural. Wow. It's not a natural affection. You see, listen, I don't have what it takes to love people. I just don't. You say, oh man, you're bad. I am. I can be self-centered. I want my way. I want all of that. And apart from Jesus Christ working in my heart and life and doing something supernatural in my life, man, I am doomed. Because my intentions might be good, I just don't have the ability to carry it out. Anybody there with me? You know, I have these good intentions with Patty, or I have these good intentions with my kids, or maybe I have this good intentions with the staff or whatever, but I don't have the ability to carry it out because I'm battling Dwight. And the way in which God wants me to be is he wants me to be receptive to his love. You see, I know what humanity, in my humanity, I know what love is. But I need to know more than just the human side of love. I need to experience the supernatural power of love, because I do not have the capacity to consistently and constantly love other people. I just don't. And God's love is supernatural. And until I experience it, okay, it won't be a reality to me. See, listen to me very carefully. This is how you stay in relationships. I've been married for 33 years. And this is how you stay married for 33 years. I've been pastoring at New Point for 36 years. I tell pastors that and they say, you gotta be kidding me. How do you do that? You forgive and you ask for forgiveness. That's how you all okay? See, what happens, it takes work. It takes work to have healthy relationships. It takes a supernatural power of God becoming a reality in me. And so guess what I did this morning? I had affirmations and confessions that, Dwight, you are deeply loved. You're accepted. You're valued. You're precious. Because what happens is if I experience that and I know that, then guess what I will do? I will treat people in my life who have value and are precious and are treasured. And so it's supernatural. Then let me give you this last one. It's eternal. Real love is eternal. It never fails. It never fails. It's not for a time, it's not for a season. You see, God doesn't love us just on our good days. He doesn't love us just on our bad days. You know what he does? He loves us with an everlasting love. But this love first has to be experienced vertically. I have to come into this love because this love is supernatural. It's a love of another kind. And when I experience God's love in my life, it will impact every other relationship in my life. Someone has said it like this: you put God in his rightful place in your life, and 1,000 problems will be solved like that. Y'all all right on that one? You know why? Because God is love. You put God first in your life, and 1,000 problems will be solved in your life, just like that. Because you'll begin to experience this eternal love. And his love is real. And it's what you and I need to crave. And we need to be able to do it. You know why? Because life minus love is zero. It's nothing. So let me ask you a question as we close. Have you experienced God's love? Maybe you know it here, but you don't have it here. It's the key, it's the foundation to all relationships. And today you can experience it by praying a simple yet life-transforming prayer. This just ignites you. It's like that couple yesterday. Guess what? They committed themselves to one another, and now they're going to live it out. When you pray this prayer, you're just saying, God, I want to experience your love, and I'm going to be committed to living it out. And you can pray a simple prayer. Just say, God, as much as I know how, as much as I understand, I ask you to come into my life. Fill me with your love. Forgive me of my sins. Let me experience your supernatural love, your unconditional love in my heart and in my life. We're going to listen to a song as well as celebrate today. It's called A Firm Foundation. And that's the foundation that you and I need to have. It's God's love. It'll carry you through everything, through every high and through every low. Would you pray with me? God, today we come to you. And if not all of us, we need to admit that, you know what? We struggle in relationships. Some of our relationships are really a big, big mess. And we ask that you would deliver us from fear, of speaking the truth, of being genuine, of being open, of being honest. And we surrender. We surrender our life to you because you love us. You're one that's worthy of us surrendering our life. And so we ask that you would fill us with your love so that we would be able to love other people with the same love that you love us. And we'll watch our relationships become vibrant and exciting and flourish. So we thank you for demonstrating how we are to love one another. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.